Have you ever felt an unexplainable tension with your mother, as if no matter what you do, she looks at you with resentment instead of love? Have you ever wondered why, instead of receiving warmth and support, you're met with coldness, criticism, or even outright hostility? You've spent your life thinking that your greatest struggles would come from the outside world, from challenges at work, from so-called friends, from strangers who don't understand you. But what if the deepest wounds you carry weren't inflicted by the world, but by the very person who was supposed to nurture and protect you? Imagine growing up believing that your mother would be your strongest ally, the one person who would love you unconditionally, only to realize that the love you longed for was never truly there. No matter how hard you tried to earn her approval, something always felt off, as if an invisible force stood between you, turning every moment of connection into one of rejection. And the most painful part, you can't even explain why. It's as if you're in a battle you never signed up for, fighting an enemy who wears the face of the one who gave you life. But this is not just about misunderstandings or family disagreements. This is something deeper, something spiritual. Some of you may have already sensed that the hostility you face is not normal, that it carries a weight that feels unnatural, almost as if something unseen is fueling it. Could it be that your very existence threatens something hidden? Could it be that the favor of God upon your life has stirred forces beyond what you can see? If these words are stirring something inside you, comment 777 below. And to those of you who have generously supported this channel through Super Thanks, I want to take a moment to say thank you. Your kindness and faith mean more than you know, and I pray that God blesses you abundantly. But now comes the question that may shake you to your core. What if the rejection you've faced all your life wasn't just personal, but spiritual warfare? What if there's a reason your mother struggles to embrace you, a reason far beyond human emotion? When you are chosen by God, the enemy knows it. And sometimes the attacks don't come from the outside, but from within your very own household. Get ready, because what you're about to discover may change the way you see everything. God's chosen ones. Why does your mom hate you so much? Witchcraft and spells. Many mothers, unfortunately, remain trapped in an emotional state of perpetual adolescence, unable to fully embrace the responsibilities of motherhood. Instead of maturing into the nurturing and supportive figure that life intended them to be, they lash out in frustration. Rather than seeing you as their child to love and protect, they view you as an object onto which they can project their unresolved anger, envy, and deep-rooted insecurities. Have you ever wondered why a mother who is supposed to be your protector could turn into someone who hurts you instead? This constant emotional conflict shapes your perception of yourself and the world around you. You've likely seen this toxic pattern unfold before your eyes, perhaps in your own life or in the lives of others. It's a heartbreaking reality that many children experience. A mother who competes with her own child, belittling their every achievement and constantly draining their spirit with harsh criticism. Can you imagine being made to feel small, even when you've done nothing wrong? This isn't an isolated situation. It's an epidemic that touches far too many lives. I've personally spoken with countless individuals who have lived through the silent torture of a toxic, emotionally neglectful mother. These are individuals who grew up in homes where love was given conditionally, like a reward for compliance, and withheld when they dared to be independent. Their dreams were ridiculed, their successes downplayed, and their potential crushed under the weight of a mother's unfulfilled desires. In the Bible, God calls us to honor our parents, but what happens when the love and care we are supposed to receive become twisted by manipulation and selfishness? Ephesians 6:2-3 says, "Honor your father and mother, which is the first commandment with a promise, that it may go well with you and that you may enjoy long life on the earth." But how can you honor someone who refuses to show you the love and support you need? This emotional warfare is not just cruelty. It's a psychological disorder masquerading as motherhood. These mothers are deeply wounded within themselves, but instead of seeking the healing they need, they project their pain onto the very people they should be protecting and nurturing. It's as if they are stuck in an endless cycle of emotional pain, playing a twisted game of emotional Russian roulette, where you are the one who always ends up taking the bullet. Can you imagine how exhausting it must be to constantly walk on eggshells in your own home, never knowing when the next attack will come, the subtle sabotage of your success, the undermining of your confidence, and the isolating behaviors that make you question your own worth? This is the toxic environment that many children grow up in, and the impact can be devastating. But for some, the damage goes even deeper. Have you ever wondered if there might be something more than just emotional neglect at play here? While some mothers act out of emotional pain or bitterness, there are others who, driven by a need for control, go to extreme and even dangerous lengths. Have you ever considered that there might be deeper spiritual forces at play? I've heard of cases where mothers, in their desperation to maintain control, have turned to the darkest corners of the spiritual realm, engaging in witchcraft, casting spells, and invoking curses upon their own children. These aren't just petty acts of jealousy or vindictiveness. They are calculated, deliberate attempts to manipulate and bind their children to their misery. In these instances, the mother's actions transcend the realm of emotional abuse and enter into a spiritual battleground. Consider the story of Jezebel in the Bible, a queen who used manipulation and witchcraft to control others. Her story is a cautionary tale for us, showing the dangers of a spirit that seeks to control through deception and fear. 1 Kings 21. Have you ever felt like someone's jealousy or bitterness was casting a shadow over your own life, clouding your every move? This is more than just a mother's anger. It's a spiritual attack designed to bind you to her misery. It's the kind of battle that can leave you questioning your worth and your future. But there is good news. No curse, spell, or manipulation can ever take away your true identity in Christ. In the Bible, we are told in 1 John 4:4, "You, dear children, are from God and have overcome them, because the one who is in you is greater than the one who is in the world." This truth is your weapon against any force, spiritual or emotional, that seeks to keep you captive. Remember, just like Joseph in the Bible, who was betrayed by his brothers out of jealousy, God can turn what was meant for harm into something beautiful and redemptive. Genesis 50:20. Even in the darkest moments, God's power can bring you out and make you stronger than you ever imagined. You are God's chosen one, and no spell or curse can change the fact that you are called to great things. As Ephesians 6:12 reminds us, "For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms." Your battle is not just against flesh and blood. It's against spiritual forces that seek to destroy you. But take heart, for you are equipped with the strength of God to overcome. The battle is already won. Will you continue to allow these toxic forces to define your life, or will you rise up and claim the destiny God has laid out for you? The wounds from the past may run deep, but they don't have to determine your future. Stand firm in the truth that you are God's chosen one, and nothing, no curse, no spell, no lie, can take away the purpose He has for you. The truth can be harsh, and sometimes it's difficult to accept, but the reality is undeniable. Some mothers aren't just toxic, They are dangerous. Have you ever felt the sting of jealousy? It creeps in slowly, eating away at everything it touches, growing more intense as time passes. But never did you imagine it would come from the one person who gave you life. Jealousy is a force that can utterly destroy relationships, and when it comes from a mother, the betrayal is particularly devastating. This isn't a rare occurrence. It happens more often than you think. When a mother's jealousy takes root, it's as if it becomes a wildfire, scorching the very foundation of the relationship. It's not just an occasional feeling, it's a destructive force that distorts love and turns it into resentment. For many mothers, the success of their children, especially if those children succeed in areas where they themselves failed, is unbearable. Your victories become a mirror to their own unfulfilled dreams, and instead of being proud of your achievements, they begin to feel threatened by them. Have you ever wondered why the person who should be your biggest cheerleader seems to resent your success? Your triumphs reflect the paths they didn't take, and that realization often transforms into something darker. Take the example of Tina Turner. Raised in a home where love was often conditional, she faced intense emotional neglect and jealousy from her mother. Despite her immense success as a musician and global icon, her mother's refusal to celebrate her achievements became a wound that never truly healed. Tina, however, turned her pain into resilience and found strength to rise above the obstacles in her path. Her success, which should have been a reason for her mother's pride, instead became a point of contention. The envy she experienced from her mother became a constant barrier, reflecting how jealousy, even from a mother, can turn love into a weapon. In the Bible, the story of Cain and Abel, Genesis 4:8, illustrates how jealousy can be far more destructive than we often realize. Cain's jealousy of Abel's favor with God led him to murder his own brother. The destructive power of jealousy, when it goes unchecked, can completely unravel the fabric of relationships. Have you ever felt like your success is viewed as a threat by those who should be rooting for you? That's the heartbreaking reality for many children whose mothers are consumed by jealousy. When we look at successful children who've worked hard to build careers, establish businesses, or simply secure a stable life, we see a painful pattern. They often find themselves the targets of their mother's envy. Think of someone like the late Steve Jobs, whose relationship with his adoptive father was strained for years. While Jobs' father was proud of his accomplishments, there were times when Jobs felt that his success was something his father couldn't understand, which led to significant tension in their relationship. Although not directly related to jealousy from a mother, it reflects the complex emotional dynamics that can emerge in family relationships where love, expectations, and success clash. Much like Jobs, many children, especially those who've risen above adversity, find that their success isn't always celebrated in their home. Instead, it becomes a painful reminder of the lives their mothers never lived, of the paths they never took. It's as if your achievements highlight the dreams they left behind. As a result, they don't see your success as a victory to be shared, but as a personal affront to their own unfulfilled potential. Can you imagine how difficult it is to watch someone you love constantly diminish your victories because they are haunted by their own missed opportunities? This is why, for many children of toxic, jealous mothers, the facade of unconditional love starts to crumble. What once felt like a nurturing relationship is now twisted into one of manipulation, guilt, and resentment. The person who should have been your biggest source of support now makes you feel as though your accomplishments are a burden. It becomes harder and harder to reconcile the image of a loving mother with the reality of the emotional manipulation and jealousy you endure. The Bible also warns us about the dangers of envy and jealousy, specifically in Proverbs 14:30. A heart at peace gives life to the body, but envy rots the bones. Envy, whether from a mother or another close family member, doesn't just harm the relationship, it corrodes the very spirit of the one who harbors it. Have you ever felt that corrosion? that slow eating away of your self-esteem and joy because of someone else's jealousy. It's a force that distorts love into a weapon, turning something pure into something toxic. This behavior can often be seen in cases of mothers who feel overshadowed by their children's success. But it doesn't always have to be a toxic relationship. Think about Michelle Obama, who often shares the story of how her mother supported her through everything, even when Michelle became the First Lady of the United States. Despite her own struggles and personal sacrifices, Michelle's mother always celebrated her success, showing us that while envy may be present in some relationships, there is also room for love to flourish and lift up even the most ambitious of children. But not all are so fortunate. In the end, you must understand that the jealousy and envy projected onto you are reflections of the insecurities and unhealed wounds within others. Your worth is not defined by the bitterness of others, especially not by a mother's resentment. God has a purpose for your life, and no amount of jealousy or negativity can take that away. Remember, in 1 John 4:4, the Bible tells us, "You, dear children, are from God and have overcome them, because the one who is in you is greater than the one who is in the world." The power within you, through God's strength, is greater than any force of envy or jealousy. Stand firm in your identity as God's chosen one, knowing that your path is His plan for you, and no one can take that away. The challenge now is, how will you respond to the jealousy and emotional manipulation you face? Will you allow it to define you, or will you rise above it, knowing that your identity and your worth are not bound by the envy of others? The love of God has already given you victory. No curse or resentment can take that away. The very person who should have been your biggest cheerleader becomes your harshest critic, undermining you at every turn. Instead of celebrating your achievements, she casts doubts on them, trying to diminish your success, pulling you back into the very space where she feels comfortable and in control. This behavior is not just jealousy, it's something much deeper, a desperate attempt to reclaim the power she feels she lost when you surpassed her. It's as if your success is a personal affront, and in this twisted dynamic, your greatest accomplishments become the weapons she uses against you. The one person you thought would always stand by your side, your mother, reveals herself as the architect of your deepest wounds. Have you ever wondered how someone who should nurture and encourage you can turn into the one person who sabotages your potential? You felt it, the relentless grip of a mother who believes the world revolves around her, who sees herself as the center of every story, including yours. Narcissism isn't just a personality flaw, it's a consuming force, a black hole that devours everything in its path, including your own dreams and desires. Narcissistic mothers don't just want love and respect, they demand control over every aspect of your life. It's as if their very identity is bound to your actions, and they will do whatever it takes to ensure that you remain under their thumb. Narcissistic mothers are not content with guiding you or letting you carve your own path. Instead, they need to shape you into a mirror image of themselves, forcing you to repeat the same cycles of failure, negativity, and regret that they've endured. They want you trapped in the same patterns, confined to the emotional prison they've created for you, all to maintain their delusion of power, the illusion that they still hold control over your destiny. Can you recall moments when you felt trapped in a cycle you didn't choose, caught in a pattern of expectations that weren't your own? It's a suffocating feeling, and it's not just emotional. It's spiritual and psychological, designed to keep you from living out the fullness of your potential. But when you start to break free, carving out your own path, living independently, and tasting success on your own terms, the mask of love and care begins to slip, and with it, their true feelings are revealed. The love you once thought was unconditional begins to curdle into hatred, their pride morphs into resentment, and suddenly They despise you for achieving what they couldn't. They despise you for daring to step outside the cage they built for you. Does it feel as though your success has triggered something in them? A fear, perhaps, that you are no longer beholden to their control. This isn't the natural order of things, where children grow, evolve, and eventually surpass their parents in certain aspects of life. This goes beyond the typical generational shift. For the narcissistic mother, your success is a direct threat to their very identity. It becomes a challenge to their authority, to the illusion that they hold absolute control over your life. When you succeed, it reveals the truth. Their hold on you was never as strong as they believed. In the Bible, we see the destructive power of narcissism in figures like King Saul, who, out of jealousy for David's rise, sought to destroy the very person he once mentored and loved. 1 Samuel 18:9-11. Saul's jealousy over David's success was not just about personal rivalry. It was a deep fear that his own position and authority were being threatened. For a narcissistic mother, the success of her child isn't a cause for celebration, but a reminder that her control was never as powerful as she imagined. Just like King Saul, she feels threatened by the very thing she should be proud of, the accomplishments of her child. Instead of encouraging you to grow, she seeks to tear you down, to keep you small, because in her eyes, your success represents her failure. Have you ever felt like your life was a reflection of someone else's broken dreams and regrets? This is often the painful reality for children of narcissistic mothers. They are caught in the crossfire of someone else's unhealed wounds, forced to carry the weight of a legacy they didn't choose. Your path is your own, but to her, it's a threat to her sense of self, and that threat can sometimes turn into something toxic and destructive. However, just as David eventually rose to his rightful place as king, you too can rise above this cycle. Despite Saul's relentless pursuit to destroy him, David's purpose could not be stopped. God's plan for David's life was greater than the jealousy and hatred that Saul harbored. Similarly, your success, though it may be met with resistance and bitterness from those closest to you, will ultimately reveal the strength and resilience that God has instilled in you. In Romans 8:31 it says, "If God is for us, who can be against us?" No matter how much resistance you face from toxic forces, the power of God within you is greater, and your destiny cannot be thwarted by the jealousy of others. Your success is a testimony to the greatness within you, and no amount of jealousy, bitterness, or manipulation can ever change that truth. You are God's chosen one, and your worth is defined by Him, not by the control others try to impose on you. As you continue to break free, don't be discouraged by those who try to pull you back into their world of insecurity. You are destined for greatness, and that greatness is yours to claim. In their twisted worldview, you're not meant to succeed where they failed. You're not meant to surpass their limitations or break free from the chains they've tried to place on you. No, in their eyes, you are supposed to be an extension of them, carrying forward their legacy of limitations and failures rather than rising above them. But what happens when you refuse to be bound by their failure? When you shatter the cycle of negativity they've tried to impose on you? That's when they retaliate. They lash out, desperate to drag you back down into the darkness they inhabit. Your independence isn't seen as a victory or a sign of growth. It's viewed as an act of rebellion, a betrayal of the narcissistic fantasy they've spent their lives constructing. Have you ever wondered why a mother, the one person who should support your growth, instead tries to suppress your success? The truth is, your success threatens their carefully constructed sense of control. This is the toxic paradox, the one where mothers, who should be the ones to nurture and guide you into becoming your best self, instead become the very obstacle you must overcome. In their eyes, your potential is a threat, and your independence is a rejection of everything they've built their identity around. They can't stand to see you thrive, because in doing so, you're showing them that the control they've held over your life is slipping away. This creates a battle, a war over who you're allowed to become, and a constant struggle for control. Have you felt the weight of that battle, the feeling of being caught in a tug-of-war between your own aspirations and the expectations she's placed on you? You've seen it, haven't you? How she twists reality with a subtlety that borders on genius, how she manipulates every situation to maintain her grip on your life. It's almost as if she's mastered the art of emotional warfare, bending the truth to fit her narrative. This isn't simply overprotectiveness or concern for your well-being. It's a calculated campaign of control. It's a toxic trap designed to keep you small, to bind you in a web of dependence where you can't escape. She knows your weaknesses better than anyone, and she will use them against you whenever it serves her purpose. In these moments, you're not a child she wants to nurture. You're a pawn in a game of power and control. The manipulation goes deeper than just words. It's woven into every interaction, every decision she influences. Every moment you're made to feel guilty for pursuing something outside her control. And when you start to rise, when you begin carving out a life that's yours and yours alone, she steps in, not with support, but with sabotage. She may disguise it as concern or advice, but deep down, you know the truth. Every time you try to grow, she'll pull you back, trying to keep you in her web. This behavior is nothing new. It's been seen throughout history. Take, for instance, the story of King Saul and David. In the Bible, Saul, once proud of David's success, became consumed by jealousy when David's fame began to surpass his own. 1 Samuel 18:6-9. Instead of celebrating David's victories, Saul saw them as a personal threat to his kingship. His jealousy blinded him to the truth, and he sought to destroy David, even though David had done nothing wrong. Saul's attempt to control David's destiny mirrors the toxic mother's instinct to keep her child under her control, fearing that if her child succeeds, she will no longer be needed. How many times have you found your success treated as a threat rather than a cause for celebration? The Bible also warns about the dangers of toxic control and manipulation. In Matthew 23:4, Jesus speaks about those who place burdens on others while never lifting a finger to help. They tie up heavy, cumbersome loads and put them on other people's shoulders, but they themselves are not willing to lift a finger to move them. This is exactly the kind of manipulation a narcissistic mother practices. She imposes unrealistic expectations, holds you to impossible standards, and punishes you when you don't meet them, all while refusing to help or support you in any meaningful way. It's a trap that keeps you bound in a cycle of dependency and guilt, and the more you try to break free, the more fiercely she clings to control. And yet, there's hope. Despite the toxic grip she tries to maintain, you are more than capable of breaking free. You are not meant to be confined to her world or her limitations. You have the strength and power to carve your own path, to live a life that reflects your potential, not her fears. In the story of Joseph, we see how he overcame the jealousy and manipulation of his brothers, who sought to hold him back out of fear and envy. Genesis 37:23-28. Though he was thrown into a pit and left for dead, Joseph's destiny was greater than the limitations others tried to impose on him. His rise to power showed that no matter how deeply the chains of control are tied, God's plan for your life cannot be thwarted. The same is true for you. Your success, your growth, and your independence are not acts of rebellion, but the fulfillment of the destiny God has placed on your life. As you continue to rise above the manipulation and control, remember that God is with you, strengthening you to break free from the chains that have held you back. You are His chosen one, and nothing, not even the subtle manipulations of those closest to you, can change the path He has set before you. Trust in his guidance and know that your worth is defined by him alone, not by the expectations or control others may try to impose on you. I've worked with clients who've endured this kind of hell, those who've watched as their own mothers actively tried to strip away every ounce of success they'd earned. Can you imagine being sabotaged by the one person who should be your greatest supporter? Relationships that could have flourished, friendships that could have served as lifelines, were poisoned by the whispered manipulations of a mother. I've heard of cases where clients lost custody of their own children, not because of their incapability as parents, but because their mothers couldn't bear to see them succeed in an area where they themselves had failed. It's a cruelty that defies logic, but it's all too real. Have you ever felt that crushing pressure to succeed, only to find that the very person who should be cheering you on is the one pulling you back? One well-known example is that of singer and actress Britney Spears. Over the years, she has spoken publicly about the toxic relationship she had with her family, especially her mother. Despite her immense success, Britney was manipulated by her mother and others in her family, leading to her conservatorship, a legal arrangement that controlled her life for years. Instead of supporting her growth and independence, her mother's actions, influenced by her own fears and desires, kept Britney trapped in a cycle of control. Britney struggled to regain her autonomy, particularly after the media and public continually failed to understand the depths of her family's manipulation. Paints a clear picture of how someone can be kept in a toxic dynamic where their success becomes a threat to those around them. Another example is the famous case of actress and activist Angelina Jolie. Known for her humanitarian work and acting career, Angelina has spoken openly about her complex relationship with her own mother, Marceline Bertrand. While they had a loving relationship, there were moments when her mother's influence, driven by jealousy and a need for control, led to emotional strain. Angelina's rising fame, her role in humanitarian causes, and her ability to carve her own path in the world often seemed to create tension with her mother, who struggled with her own unresolved issues. While their relationship was largely supportive, the underlying tension serves as an example of how even those closest to us, driven by jealousy or fear of losing control, can inadvertently stifle our growth. One client, for instance, battled alcoholism for years, desperately striving to reclaim her life from the bottle's grip. She wanted to break free from the chains of addiction and finally live independently. But instead of offering the support she needed, her mother would conveniently stock the house with her daughter's favorite drink, offering it under the guise of relaxation. It wasn't kindness, it was manipulation. It was a chain, forged link by link, to ensure her daughter never truly broke free from the shadow of addiction. Have you ever experienced a situation where someone, disguised as a helper, quietly sought to keep you bound to their own dysfunction? It's heartbreaking, but all too real for those trapped in these toxic dynamics. Another client struggled with weight loss. After years of battling with her health, she finally began to see progress. She was losing weight, feeling more energized, and beginning to believe that change was possible. But every weekend, without fail, her mother would bake her favorite pastries, pushing them on her with a relentless insistence. It wasn't about a mother wanting to share a treat with her daughter. It was a calculated move, a way to hit where it hurt the most. She knew exactly how to manipulate her daughter's emotions, to undermine her progress, and to make her feel guilty for choosing to prioritize her health. These weren't acts of love or care. They were acts of sabotage, designed to keep her daughter dependent, to prevent her from achieving the independence that would have threatened her mother's control. This is the toxic trap many children of narcissistic or controlling mothers find themselves in. The mother would rather see her child fail, remain under her thumb, than succeed and slip beyond her reach. The success of her child is seen as a direct threat to her relevance. a glaring reminder that her own failures have kept her from fulfilling her potential. Rather than celebrate their growth, she does everything in her power to pull them back into the darkness she's familiar with. Have you felt like the more you succeeded, the more you were pulled back into a web of negativity? It's the cycle of control, a mother who manipulates not out of love, but out of fear. Fear that your success will render her irrelevant. Fear that your independence will shine a light on the shadows of her own failures. The Bible speaks about the dangers of manipulation and control. In Galatians 5:1, Paul writes, "It is for freedom that Christ has set us free. Stand firm then, and do not let yourselves be burdened again by a yoke of slavery." When someone manipulates you to keep you dependent, they are, in essence, trying to place a yoke of slavery on you, one that keeps you tied to their expectations and failures. It's a toxic form of control that seeks to limit your growth and prevent you from stepping into the life God has called you to. And that's what makes the cruelty of these actions so difficult to understand. These are not simply cases of overbearing mothers. These are calculated moves to keep you tethered to their version of reality, to prevent you from flourishing and claiming the life you deserve. It's a web of dependence, where every move you make toward independence is met with sabotage, every step forward is met with resistance. However, just as David eventually rose to his rightful place as king, you too can rise above this cycle. Despite Saul's relentless pursuit to destroy him, David's purpose was greater than the jealousy and hatred Saul harbored. His rise to power showed that no matter how deeply the chains of control are tied, God's plan for your life cannot be thwarted. Your success, your growth, and your independence are not acts of rebellion, but the fulfillment of the destiny God has placed on your life. As you continue to rise above the manipulation and control, remember that God is with you, strengthening you to break free from the chains that have held you back. You are His chosen one, and nothing, not even the subtle manipulations of those closest to you, can change the path He has set before you. Trust in His guidance, and know that your worth is defined by Him alone, not by the expectations or control others may try to impose on you. You've experienced it, the inexplicable collapse of relationships that once seemed destined for greatness. In the beginning, everything felt right, the excitement and thrill of a fresh connection filling your heart with hope. But somehow, over time, things began to unravel, and you were left heartbroken, shattered, and wondering where it all went wrong. What if the source of your sorrow wasn't just bad luck or poor decisions? What if the very person who should have been your biggest cheerleader, your greatest supporter, was quietly sowing seeds of discord behind the scenes? Every time you start dating someone new, you feel that spark, that thrill of possibility. You dream of building something real, something lasting. But before long, the bonds you've worked hard to create start to fray. Trust begins to crumble, and the connection fades in ways that you can't explain. Before you know it, you're left standing alone, confused, trying to piece together what went wrong. Have you ever felt like your relationships were sabotaged before they even had a chance to grow? Behind the scenes, there's a voice whispering venom into the ears of those you love. The person who should be lifting you up, encouraging your happiness, and protecting your heart has become the architect of your heartbreak. Your mother, the one person who you believed would always have your back, has become the saboteur of your joy. While she may appear to be just a concerned parent to others, you know the truth. She's the one who has been undermining your relationships all along. She talks behind your back, twisting truths into lies, casting doubts on your character, and feeding your partner's insecurities. She's painting you as unstable, unreliable, or even unworthy of the love you're striving to build. And in doing so, she ensures that no relationship can stand against the weight of her manipulations. This isn't some passive behavior, it's calculated. She knows exactly what strings to pull to make your partner question everything. Every word she speaks is designed to make them doubt the very foundation of your relationship. She might imply that you aren't as committed as you seem, or that you have a history of leaving people behind. At first, it might sound like concern, like a mother simply looking out for her child's best interests. But those words are coated in poison, designed to corrode the trust you've painstakingly built. Real-life stories are full of examples where this type of manipulation has destroyed relationships. Take the case of actress and singer Jessica Simpson, who has spoken openly about the toxic relationship she had with her mother during her marriage to Nick Lachey. Jessica's mother, who was supposed to be supporting her daughter through her relationships, instead inserted herself into every aspect of Jessica's life, causing tension and doubt in the marriage. In her memoir, Jessica revealed that her mother often undermined her choices, which played a role in the couple's eventual divorce. The subtle manipulation, the planted seeds of doubt, these were the forces that slowly eroded a once promising relationship. Have you ever felt like someone close to you, particularly a mother, was trying to control your relationships for reasons you couldn't quite understand? And when the relationship finally falls apart, your mother isn't there with the comfort and support you deserve. Instead, she's there with a smug satisfaction, as if she's proven something to herself, that no one can have you but her. She's not mourning the loss of your happiness. She's reveling in the fact that she has retained control over you, that she has successfully isolated you from the love you've tried to build. It's not about your well-being. It's about maintaining her sense of dominance in your life. This toxic dynamic is not just damaging to your relationships, it's an emotional prison. It's as if you're forever caught in a game you never agreed to play, where your choices, your happiness, and your future are continually manipulated by someone who is supposed to love and protect you. In the Bible, we see the example of Joseph, who faced betrayal and sabotage from his own brothers, but his faith in God helped him overcome every obstacle they put in his way. Even when it seemed like they had taken everything from him, Joseph rose to greatness. He understood that his destiny was not controlled by the toxic actions of others, and similarly, you can rise above this manipulation. You may feel like you're constantly battling against forces you don't fully understand, but the truth is, you are stronger than you think. The love and support that should have come from your mother were distorted by her own insecurities and fears. But you are not bound by those manipulations. Just like Joseph, you have a destiny greater than the chains that try to keep you down. Your worth is not defined by someone else's fear or jealousy. It is defined by God's plan for you. And no matter how many times your relationships are sabotaged or manipulated, your true worth remains unshaken. You have the power to break free from this cycle and to build the love and trust you deserve. This is the envy of your relationships, the deep destructive jealousy of a mother who cannot bear to see you happy, who resents the idea that you could find love and companionship outside her grasp. Her jealousy isn't limited to the partners you choose. It's a profound envy of the very idea that anyone else could hold a place in your heart that she once claimed as her own. You see, for her, your happiness becomes a betrayal. Your love for another person, your ability to form a bond with someone outside her influence, is perceived as a direct threat to the control she's worked so hard to maintain over your life. And in this twisted mindset, she destroys what she cannot have. She poisons your relationships, leaving you to pick up the pieces time and time again, wondering why every connection you attempt seems doomed from the start. But here's the truth. The curse isn't yours, it's hers. You finally made the decision to take control of your life, to heal the wounds that have been festering for so long. You sought peace and balance, turning to spirituality for comfort and guidance, in a world that has often felt hostile and chaotic. Slowly but surely, you started to feel the weight lifting from your shoulders. The light began to break through the darkness, and you thought, for the first time in a long while, that you could breathe. But just as you started to experience this freedom, just as you began to feel the healing process take root, something happens. Your body betrays you. Sickness strikes unexpectedly, lingering in ways it never has before. Fatigue grips you like a vice, draining your energy, making even the simplest tasks feel impossible. Unexplained accidents occur, small mishaps that seem to spiral into something bigger, leaving you questioning if the universe itself is conspiring against you. But deep down, you know this isn't the universe at all. It's her. She's always been there, lurking in the shadows, watching your every move. Your mother, the one person who should have been your greatest ally, is, in fact, the very source of your suffering. Her presence in your life isn't nurturing, it's suffocating. She doesn't want you to heal, to grow, or to find peace. Why? Because your healing threatens the control she has clung to all your life. The more you rise, the more independent you become, the more you threaten her sense of power over you. She cannot bear to see you reclaim your life and your happiness, because in her mind, it proves she has lost her grip on you. She doesn't just want to control your choices. She needs to control your very existence. You've become her target, not just of her resentment, but of something far darker, her malevolent intent. She's turned to forces beyond the physical, casting spells, invoking dark energies, all with the singular goal of keeping you chained to the misery she's cultivated for you. You might have wondered, in the quiet moments of your suffering, if there's something more at play, some invisible force pulling you back, sabotaging your progress, keeping you from breaking free. In moments like these, you might have questioned your own strength or thought that maybe you were just unlucky. But in reality, it's not your weakness, it's her dark influence. Take, for example, the case of author and motivational speaker Louise Hay. In her earlier years, she had to overcome a life filled with manipulation and control from her mother, who had a narcissistic, domineering personality. Louise eventually overcame her struggles, healed her body from cancer, and helped millions. But her road to healing was long and filled with battles against the forces that sought to pull her back into her past. Much like many of her clients, Louise realized that her healing had to be a spiritual, emotional, and physical battle, one that required her to release the negative energy her mother had planted in her life. She had to break free from the emotional and spiritual hold that had kept her bound for so long. Just as Louise Hay overcame these obstacles, you too can break free from this toxic influence. It might not be easy, and it may require you to confront difficult truths about the power your mother has held over you, but with time, strength, and support, you can sever the chains that bind you. You are not destined to remain a prisoner to her control or her bitterness. The Bible warns us about the dangers of this kind of manipulation and spiritual control. In 2 Corinthians 10:4-5, it says, "The weapons we fight with are not the weapons of the world. On the contrary, they have divine power to demolish strongholds. We demolish arguments and every pretension that sets itself up against the knowledge of God, and we take captive every thought to make it obedient to Christ." Your healing is not only a physical or emotional process, it is a spiritual battle. The forces at work in your life may not be of your choosing, but you have the power to fight back with the strength God has given you. The curse she has tried to place on you can be broken, and your life can be restored. Remember this: you are stronger than her manipulation. You are not bound by her control. Your worth is not defined by her power over you. You are God's chosen one, and His power is greater than any force that tries to keep you from living the life He has called you to. Keep moving forward, no matter how heavy the burden may feel. You are meant for more than the misery she has tried to trap you in. Your healing is inevitable, and nothing, no curse, no dark force can take that away from you. Your spiritual progress is a direct challenge to the power she's held over you for so long, and she cannot allow it. It's not just superstition or chance that has led to your setbacks. The spells she casts are manifestations of something far darker. Her hatred, her desperate attempt to bind you to her twisted version of reality. As you try to cleanse your soul, to heal from the years of manipulation and control, she works tirelessly to drag you back into the darkness she herself inhabits. She cannot bear the thought of you discovering the truth, of you gaining the strength and freedom that would render her irrelevant, powerless. Do you feel it? The weight of every inexplicable illness or sudden misfortune. It's as if something is trying to pull you back, to keep you from breaking free. But deep down, you know the truth. Every setback is her hand at work. Her desperate grasp at the control she feels slipping away. She fears your healing because it's her nightmare come true. A reminder that she can no longer dictate the terms of your existence. You're no longer bound to her, and that frightens her. But what she doesn't realize is that you're stronger than she could ever imagine. Your progress is more powerful than the darkness she wields. You've tasted the peace that comes from within, the peace that comes with healing and reclaiming your true self. No spell, no curse, no force she throws at you can take that from you. Your very strength is the reason for her hatred. It's a testament to your power, your progress, and your inevitable victory over everything she's tried to keep you bound to. The path ahead may be treacherous, but it is your path. It is the path to your freedom, and no one, not even her, can take that from you. It may feel like an uphill battle, but as long as you stay true to yourself, as long as you trust in God's guidance, nothing can stop you. Then there comes a moment, like the crack of dawn breaking after a long, suffocating night, when the truth shatters the illusions you've lived under. This is your awakening. It is the moment when you finally see with painful clarity that the person who should have been your protector, your guide, has been your greatest enemy all along. This truth, when it hits, will feel like a bolt of divine lightning, a revelation from God Himself that pulls back the curtain of deceit, exposing the manipulation and control that have been woven around you for years. The one who bore you, the one who should have nurtured and supported you, has instead been the source of your suffering, the one who has worked in the shadows to keep you confined to her world. This revelation isn't just a flash of insight, it's a tidal wave that sweeps away every doubt, every excuse you've made for her cruelty. The illusions you've clung to are shattered, and you are left standing in the truth of what has been happening all along. God doesn't reveal this kind of truth to everyone. He reveals it to His chosen ones, those destined for greatness, for a purpose that stretches beyond the ordinary. You're not just another child, you're a beacon of light in this world, and that light has threatened the darkness in her from the very beginning. Have you ever wondered why your presence, your light, feels like such a threat to her? It's because she knows on a deep, subconscious level that your light will expose everything she's hidden in the darkness of her own fears and insecurities. This is not just a personal awakening, it's a spiritual awakening. It's a recognition of your divine purpose, a purpose that has been in you from the very beginning. You were chosen to rise above the manipulation, to break free from the chains of darkness that others, especially the ones closest to you, have tried to place on you. Your journey is not just about personal healing, it's about fulfilling a divine mission. And as you step into that purpose, you will find the strength to overcome whatever forces seek to hold you back. Remember, God has already equipped you with the strength to face this battle. In Isaiah 41:10, God promises, "So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." This is His promise to you. to help you rise, to give you the strength you need to break free from every chain and every manipulation that has kept you bound. You are not alone in this fight. You are His chosen one, and no power, no curse, no dark force can stand against the light He has placed within you. Your awakening is just the beginning. It's the moment you step into the fullness of who you are meant to be. It's a new chapter, one where you are no longer bound by the past, but free to walk in the truth of God's purpose for your life. And as you rise, you will become the beacon of hope and light that you were always destined to be. As you awaken to this truth, the power shifts. No longer are you the victim of her insidious control, the puppet in her twisted play. You have become the master of your own destiny, no longer shackled by the toxic influence that sought to keep you small, dependent, and forever in her shadow. Your success, your independence, the very qualities that have sparked her jealousy and resentment, are now the flames of your growth. These are the signs that you are breaking free from the chains she once placed around you. Every achievement, every step you take toward your own path, is a nail in the coffin of the control she once had over you. Do you feel it, the shift in power? You are no longer under her manipulation, no longer bound by her fear-based control. This is the turning point, the moment you reclaim your life, your identity, and your purpose. You're not just surviving anymore, you are thriving. And it's that very thriving that drives her to desperation. She can't stand to see you succeed, to see you flourish outside her grasp. But now, you can see it for what it is. A reflection of her own failures, her insecurities, her regrets projected onto you. As you rise, as you step into the fullness of who you were always meant to be, her power over you crumbles. It's no longer about her pulling the strings. It's about you walking in the freedom God has designed for you. This is your awakening, the moment you break free and live not just in spite of her, but in defiance of every attempt she made to keep you down. The light that God placed within you will not be dimmed by her. No matter how hard she tries to keep you in the darkness, your spirit will shine brighter. And no one, not even her, can snuff out the light you carry. You've felt it, haven't you? That relentless pressure, that invisible weight dragging you down just when you begin to rise. You might have thought it was just a series of unfortunate events, or maybe you blamed yourself, thinking that you weren't strong enough to overcome the obstacles life threw at you. But deep down, you know there's something more to it. This isn't just the natural ebb and flow of life. This is something far more sinister. The devil doesn't waste his time on strangers or distant enemies. He targets those closest to you, the ones who know your strengths, your weaknesses, your dreams, and your fears. And who knows you better than your own mother? She has been the agent of control, the one who has used every tactic to keep you in her grasp. But now, as you break free and pursue your purpose, it's as if you've exposed the truth for what it is. The enemy doesn't want you to walk in freedom, doesn't want you to thrive, because when you do, it threatens everything the darkness has tried to build. And yet, you are chosen. You are called to walk in victory, to rise above the forces that seek to keep you bound. In the Bible, we are reminded that we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against the spiritual forces of evil. Ephesians 6:12. These forces manifest in many ways, sometimes through the very people who should love and protect us. But as you awaken to the truth, you will see that this battle is not yours alone. God is with you, strengthening you, equipping you to overcome every obstacle the enemy tries to place in your path. You're not defined by your past, not defined by the manipulation and control of others. You're a child of God, destined for greatness, and nothing, no force, no darkness, can stand in the way of the purpose He has for your life. As you continue to rise, remember that your power comes from God, not from the approval or control of others. This is your time to shine, to live in the fullness of who you are meant to be. No one can stop you, and no one can hold you back. You were chosen for greatness, and as you step into your purpose, the world will see the power of God's light in you. Your success, your independence, and your peace are all part of the divine plan for your life, and nothing, no manipulation, no darkness, can ever take that away. The devil's tactics are insidious, and he knows exactly how to manipulate those closest to you. The bond that should be sacred, the one that should be a source of support and love, becomes the very weapon he uses to strike at the heart of your success. This is no ordinary conflict, this is spiritual warfare. The devil doesn't need to send obvious enemies your way. Instead, he uses those you trust, those you love, to derail you. He understands that a blow from a stranger can be shrugged off, but when the strike comes from your own mother, it cuts deep. Wounds that are slow to heal, if they heal at all. Have you ever felt like the most painful wounds come not from strangers, but from those who should protect you? The devil thrives on this intimacy, using her knowledge of your deepest vulnerabilities to craft the perfect traps. Traps designed to make you doubt yourself, to sap your strength, and to prevent you from fulfilling your destiny as one of the chosen. The enemy knows you better than anyone else, and he uses that knowledge to bind you in chains, emotional chains that have kept you stuck, stagnant, and insecure. But now that you see it, you can no longer be deceived. Seeing is the first step in breaking free. This is a spiritual battle, and your awareness is your shield. The devil's plan is to keep you in the darkness, to keep you from realizing your divine potential. But now you know the truth. The attack isn't just physical or emotional, it's spiritual, and your awareness of it is your greatest weapon. Have you ever wondered why, after every victory, there seems to be a fresh attack, a new setback that knocks you back down? The truth is, the devil doesn't stop just because you've recognized his game. In fact, he will double down, using every trick, every tactic to pull you back into the darkness. But here's where the battle shifts. You are not powerless. Your spiritual vigilance, your connection to the divine, is your greatest defense. Ephesians 6:11-12 reminds us, "Put on the full armor of God, so that you can take your stand against the devil's schemes. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms." Your strength is not in your own power, but in God's strength that empowers you to stand firm. You must protect yourself, fortify your spirit, and stand firm against the toxic influences that seek to drag you down. This is where your strength is tested, where your true power is revealed. You may have felt weak at times, wondering if you could continue fighting, but remember, the devil's greatest fear is that you will realize your own potential, that you will break free from the chains he's tried to bind you with. Every step you take toward healing, every victory over the toxic influences in your life, is a blow against the darkness he's tried to create. The more you rise, the more afraid he becomes. You were not made to be subdued by those who should love you. You were made to rise, to conquer, to fulfill the destiny that has been ordained for you. This is your time to step into the fullness of your purpose. The light inside of you is powerful, and it is not meant to be dimmed. As you walk in the awareness of your spiritual strength, you will see that every attack, every setback, only pushes you closer to your true calling. The enemy wants you to doubt, to shrink back, to give in, but you were made for more. Stay spiritually vigilant, protect yourself from the toxic forces that surround you, and never forget that in this battle, you are not alone. You are divinely supported, and you are destined to win. Your victory is already assured, not because of your own strength, but because God has already claimed that victory for you. Keep moving forward, keep pressing on, knowing that the power within you is greater than any force that seeks to stand in your way. You are chosen, and your light will not be extinguished. You know, not all mothers wield their influence like a weapon. Many mothers are sources of love, strength, and unwavering support. For those who have been blessed with this kind of nurturing, it is a gift that shapes their lives in ways that are both powerful and beautiful. However, for those who have felt the sting of betrayal from the one who should have been their greatest ally, it's essential to recognize the damage that has been done. You can no longer afford to sugarcoat or overlook the toxic behaviors that have undermined your growth, your happiness, and your sense of self. The actions of a mother, whether driven by jealousy, control, or something darker, have shaped your life in ways that you are only now beginning to fully understand. Have you ever found yourself questioning why certain patterns keep repeating in your life? Why success feels just out of reach? Or why your sense of peace seems fleeting? But now, with clarity in hand, you must confront the truth and take back the power that's rightfully yours. You've felt the effects of this toxic influence in your daily life, the inexplicable failures that seem to sabotage your every effort, the relationships that crumble without warning or cause, and the constant feeling that something is holding you back, as if an invisible force is preventing you from reaching your true potential. This isn't just a series of unfortunate events or mere coincidence. It's the result of a deliberate, often unconscious effort to keep you from rising above the limits placed on you. Have you ever felt like you were running against the wind, unable to make any real progress, no matter how hard you tried? That feeling is not accidental. Now that you see the patterns, now that you understand the why behind the how, you have the opportunity to break free. The power to change your story and rewrite the narrative that's been imposed upon you is in your hands. This is your moment to take action, to step into the light that's been calling you all along. For too long, you may have allowed these toxic influences to define you. Perhaps you believed that you were destined to be stuck in the same cycle of negativity, or that this was your fate. But now you see the truth. You are not defined by the hurt or the control that has been imposed on you. Your true self, the one that's been buried beneath the weight of manipulation and negativity, is ready to emerge. It's time to rewrite your story, to step into the life that you were always meant to live. Don't let these experiences be the things that define you. Instead, use them as fuel for your own transformation. Every painful moment, every obstacle that's been placed in your path is now your source of strength. You have survived, and now you will thrive. Your story is powerful, and by sharing it, you not only heal yourself, but also give others the courage to face their own hidden battles. The light you carry, the strength you've gained from overcoming these toxic forces, will inspire others to do the same. As you rise, so do others, and together you will break free from the chains that once held you captive. In this moment of clarity, you have the power to decide what comes next. Will you continue to let the shadows of your past hold you back, or will you step into the light and embrace the freedom that awaits you? It's time to reclaim your power, to choose your own path, and to rise above the darkness. You are worthy of happiness, success, and peace, and nothing, not even the toxic influence of those who should have protected you, can take that away. You are not defined by their control, but by the strength, resilience, and light that reside within you. As God's chosen ones, we are called to endure and overcome the battles that are meant to hinder us from fulfilling our divine purpose. Sometimes these challenges come from the most unexpected sources, even within our own families. When faced with rejection or hostility, especially when it's rooted in things like witchcraft and spells, it can be easy to feel lost and abandoned. But remember, no matter how heavy the opposition may seem, God's love for you is unshakable, and He has already equipped you with the strength to overcome. You are not alone in this. Even when those closest to us may turn against us, God is with you every step of the way, leading you to greater victory. Seek His guidance through prayer, trust His timing, and allow His healing power to flow into your heart. You are called to shine His light, and nothing, absolutely nothing, can extinguish it. If this message spoke to your heart today, I encourage you to consider supporting this channel through a donation via Super Thanks. Your support helps us continue spreading the Word of God to those who need it most. But whether you donate or not, I am deeply grateful for your presence here. Thank you for being part of this journey, for watching, and for engaging in this powerful community. I encourage you to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with anyone you think might benefit from this message. Your simple act of sharing could be the spark that someone else needs to ignite their faith. Leave a comment below. Share your thoughts, your prayers, or your testimony. Every word matters, and together we create a place of strength and encouragement. May God bless you abundantly, fill you with peace, and guide your steps as you continue walking in His divine purpose for your life.